What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Bull Season 1, Episode 5, Just Tell the Truth. So, this one, once again, something new, something a little bit different from the first 4 episodes. And I like the fact that they are giving us something different each time. It's not always a murder case, it's not always, a straightforward case, it's not always, in this case as we see, it's not always going to be they get offered a client and then they accept and that client ends up being correct. In this case, they got offered a job, ends up being a lot of money for it, and then they see that the client they're being asked to convict is actually innocent. So now they change sides and now they're helping the defense. So I like the fact that they're changing it up a little bit. They're making it not always as straightforward as usual. And this was it was a good episode. I would say the end was a little frustrating, but I'll talk about why in a second. But for a majority of this, it was not. I like the fact that they didn't make it about the fact that, like Bull was saying, they didn't make it about, oh, this kid's poor and the family's rich. They didn't make it that was the agenda here. And that's pretty easy to talk about now, especially when one of our candidates running is probably paying off several people to stay out of jail. They could have made it about that. They could have made it about the money and, oh, rich never get, they never get found guilty. They always corrupt the system. They didn't make it about that. They could have even made it even worse because there was some race involved in this. The girl had a mixed background. They could have made it about race too. They didn't do that. They just made it about sometimes cops will, if they think they've got the right guy, they will force confessions using techniques. That was kind of the focus here. And not saying that all cops do this, I think by now we realize that not everybody is a corrupt cop. And I think some people don't realize that, hence some of the issues we have in our society right now. But this is a good case of the cop thought he had the right guy. He had a criminal informant who told him that he saw this guy kill the girl and ends up being the real killer himself. And so he trusted his CI. He trusted the information he got, and so he did what he had to do to get the confession. And sometimes that works. Sometimes, like in this case, it's wrong and it doesn't work. So I like that's where the focus was kept. It wasn't until the end that they finally brought up if he had had money, he would have had a lawyer in there with him to help him out, to keep him from, giving this confession, this false confession. But instead, he doesn't have money, so he doesn't get a lawyer, and he's in there alone for 11 hours. So by the end, they kind of address the fact that, sometimes the poor get looked over because, there are rich people behind it. So all in all, the case was good. I thought it was a well-handled case, but there are some issues at the end. One, I thought, there's one thing before the thing I'm also going to talk about. I can't remember it now. Oh, the final statement. They were making the final statement. They had this moment where they trapped all the jurors with Dr. Bull in an elevator and kind of messed with their minds a little bit, made them think, oh, you're going to be trapped in there for a few hours. And based on that, in a few minutes, they cracked and lied about one of them having a health condition. So it was kind of like showing them, look, if you were in this situation, you would have done the same thing. What I didn't like, though, is that in the final statement that they gave to the defense attorney, they pretty much described, word for word, exactly what just happened to him. I would have preferred they kept it more vague, because honestly, like, what they said, the jurors should have been like, hang on, that's exactly what happened to us. How did he know about that? But instead, they're just like, oh yeah, that just happened to us. Man, now I feel bad. They should have made it more vague so it's not so obvious that, hey, we're talking about what just happened to you guys. It was like, if you were trapped feeling claustrophobic, which one of them just talked about being claustrophobic, and, wouldn't you stretch the truth to get out of that situation? Hey, we stretched the truth to get out of that situation. It should have been more along the lines of describing his situation, but not directly using their words to describe his situation. So that was a little frustrating. And then on top of that, at the end, You know, they normally do this in murder cases where they've only had 3 so far, but in the murder cases, there's at the end they normally find out who the real killer is. In this one, it was handled a bit better because in the first 2, it was just like we're focusing on the trial, we're focusing on the trial, and then at the end, it's like, oh, here's the criminal. In this case, it was a bit more. It was better planned out because they had Danny going out, looking at the crime scene, finding evidence that it wasn't Richard, and based on that evidence, she managed to find out who the CI was. It was Richard's friend at the beginning, and that's who killed her. So there was a bit more setup for this one. So I didn't mind that, but the problem is, at the end of this, they're all sitting around the table, and then all of a sudden she's just like, I've got more good news for you. Hands them an envelope, and it's the parents of the deceased girl giving them the money they were going to give them in the beginning anyway. I understand, but at the same time, I feel like the message would have been better handled if it was they turned down all that money to help their client get the truth. That would have been the better message here, but the message is, oh, turn down the money to help the client get the truth, and guess what? You still get the money anyway. Everything works out okay. Not everything works out like that. Like, there would be moments where, they wouldn't be able to find the killer. They wouldn't have been able to find out who actually killed the daughter, and those 2 parents would have been blaming the guy who got off forever. Not always a happy resolution. So I understand that they're trying to say, oh, look, they found the truth and everything worked out, but it just felt way too, everything's great, nothing ever goes wrong. I want to see stuff go wrong. I want to see it a bit more realistic. I want to see moments where they manage to get their client off and they know he's innocent, but yet somebody on the parent side is just like, you're wrong. You got off a killer and doesn't believe what just happened, and things don't always work out and stuff like that. So overall, I'm happy with it. I'm still enjoying the show because it really connects with sort of what I like in a show. But there are moments like at the end, like with some of these murder cases, how they're handling let's find the killer now in the last 2 seconds of the show. It is a bit frustrating, but I think they're doing a good job so far. 5 episodes in, you really have to sort of make a stake and say, this is what our show is going to be about. And as they've shown over the past 5 episodes, it's about the trial. It's not about solving the mystery. It's not about, finding the killer. That stuff is thrown in there just for resolution's sake. For us, the audience, to be like, oh, so that's who killed her. But it is about the trial and how they're, they look at the jury and they analyze the jury and they do what they can to help innocent clients get off and to get guilty clients convicted. So really enjoy it. Looking forward to more. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Let me know what you liked and disliked about this episode. Leave a like and subscribe for future Bull reviews, and I'll see you at the next one. Peace out.